Mic check.
Hey man, we should come off the piano for a minute, man, and bust this crazy.
Once upon a glorious, serene, unbelievably alluring old storybook scene on a gorgeous looking, positively flooring, smog-free, sorta salt-watery, awfully awesome sauce, doggity doggone, popping off on fleek, Gucci groovy boss chief, peachy keen, P-H-A-T, stupendously, righteous superfly, ill doozy of a beauty-filled, nifty lit, killer sick, sunny chill, mid-stunning flame, lovely goated mad great, wonderfully open dank, neato burrito, A1, first rate, Tay-okay, toads, cray, sweet, blended cheese, worthy red on the gin, teddy nice and kinda dynamite, tight raw, fire out of sight, bygone, far out, plugged about, bothered yawn, free, bounteously trippy, almost gaudy like a multicolored Maserati, gawking goggle-eyed geek cousin, balmy beach combing, free roaming, pre-COVID, mid-early morning postcard, worthy photogenic coastal boatyard skirting, Kodak moment-loaded road trip, comfortably chugging on a bloody lovely couple 100 miles long Highway 1 test drive, underneath the vibrant sun in the wild one west side, reds and incoming scruffy, somewhat shaggy, lanky, rubber champing Yankee from the land of Lincoln camping every day and then night, a sweaty, passionate, unnecessarily meticulous perfectionist who regards the art of clever, tricky lyricism as fascinating and absolutely mesmeric. Messy head that breathlessly rejects the negative, but nevertheless infected every sack with irrelevant, freshly manufactured existential pessimistic rhetoric. Another Joe Schmo so close to Jonestone's home of the rhetoric, who's a couple steps ahead of him. Jalopy, Joy Biden, Jabroni, Jax, Juggalo, Joker, Josh, Jerk, get through to the juice, and Jada Joel, joshingly dubbed Jim Jones. Hey yo. He had a dream to run away one summer day from the ugly undertones of a safely color-coded, numbered, mind-numbing, careful comfort zone in nothing but his underclothes, and lumber through the brush and jump amidst the untamed undergrowth, and mutter an oath to the jungle to undergo something other than becoming a bumbling, slumbering loaf, and sail wherever the rubber crushes the crumbling road, hidden from the bitter ice cold by a reliable, well-written fixer-upper brand, speaking old but ain't broke, dumb of a janky slow van, less flaky but twice or thrice as white as Iraqi snow, better than cracked fancy clamping habitat he'd already gotten used to calling home, that he found out in the shanty town of Fountain, Colorado. As a matter of fact, not alone, get the optional Monaco model on board of a pot of gold contoured cotton ball, soft offsprung progeny of possibly the Turkish fawn, or as I improperly pronounce it, fan pattern cat. The glowing fur of the glower, coupled with her meowing loudly at all hours, caused the purring monarch I adopted to adopt the moniker Coyote Pate, a prime candidate to be not slowly tasted as a late night protein snack eaten by the pack in the grass, assy omniscient, no one shivering in the privilege of air conditioning, calmly sleeping in the back, or rigidly twitching her pretty whiskers with an indignant stiff in the typical kitten cross-legged position propped up against him on the opposite of his left side. Benji Ha and Joel Ben sitting in a GMC KISSING, just a couple of regular Dennis Robbins and Scottie Pippins of alternative living, minus the mind-blowing billfolds of bourgeoisie-esque bulging breasts and shredded biceps of bulbous builds and billowing jerseys in bright bold white and bold red, going together like threaded holes in the right size bolt threads, a screw, a couple of city dipping, road tripping, bright-eyed old friends, just two who like the Roman roving, going to the line but where the tide side road ends due to erosion, overhanging the ocean, going with the flow, hanging tender so downwards off the corrosion, devouring the cozy S van, found at the outskirts of town and coincidentally the end of the continent, quite content, living the best life with zero hesitation, without even opening the pages. Some would judge the dusty cover of the dummy stranger and smuggling a struggle for 1 second. We're slenderously showering him with labels such as unstable, ugly, crazy, rugged, shameful, icy glacier of a somewhat unshaven, shy and patently insane, trouble-making Shanghaier / job sinking guy slayer instead of the reality. Quiet scrimshaw, drank slinging shaw shade, slinking slightly Celtic, crazy cultist looking, uncultured, non-kosher, skulking, joking nature hike taker, and some of the stuff to be described later. Wreaking havoc in TJ Maxx and farting on designer labels, finding favor in finer flavors than flimsy microwave filet mignon from famous Dave's barbecue, flooded in flaming hot fire sauce, flaring the hairy nares of feral fair workers, scaring parents into apparent hysterics, despairingly sharing terrified praise with the air and tearing their pharynxes and larynxes with bandaged phalanges, swearing at the unbearably terrible habaneros buried within it, followed by pairings of fuel for furious face, liquor lace, flickery fireside, family fights later, flights of frosted firewater flutes full of barely standable, fairly flammable fireball, and for the road. Lifesaver. My name is widely spake of by the wisest grace from tribal times and ancient wild fables. Not the dollar counting Bible shaman preacher. Not the prophet found inside the pages either. Not the DJ in the squeaker mask, screeching electronic music pieces blasting out the speakers. Not the leading role of The Last of Us even. Not the MC from NYC, aka the piano man, still in annoying Illinois and empty silly rhythm spilling hillbilly Joe with the really old filthy soul fulfilling goals. Good daddling and piddle paddling a straddling infinity of idiotic drivel riddle fiddle faddle little trivial videos riding the rising line of the horizon like a skyscraper climbing vibrating Zion naming fly gazing slime angel. I admit that I'm a tiny bitch stranger than my neighbors. My fright timing when gyrating like a wild man's the tiebreaker. Hi haters, my disheveled pebble-sized mind underneath a wild tangle might be levels brighter than a lion's rebel knight Scion lightsabers. Watchdog Jedi. I like to wrinkle my brow and I get sprinkled with a cloud of names like John, Jack, Josh, Jacob, Jingleheimer. Singled out as twinkle-eyed Rip Van Winkle sleeping in the Christmas trees at Timberline Street, dirting off in the sassafras, aspen and black birch and the Catskills, cool cat, tall cat, nipping in mid-July. Even fewer than 2 times, but mistakenly assumed to be Julius, the mustachioed fictional Pringle guy. That's not my name. Next try. Obviously, this is not a kickin' hip-hop song with Cuddy, Biggie, Smalls, Nicki Minaj, Gotti, Diddy, Little John, or Kid Rock on. You gotta think beyond the loop of the Lupe, Ludacris, Pusha, Q-Tip, 2 Chainz, Guru, Gucci, Tucci, Uzi, Bougie, hey. Boogie with the hoodie, Juicy J, Jada Kiss, Jay-Z, Eminem, NF, MF, Doom, Ja Rule, Park, Hughes, Snoop Dogg, Dogg, 50 Cent, Talking, A$AP, Rick Ross, songs booming in about a 2 black bunnery surrounding the jukebox, drowning out the yowls of the bad dude. Howling agony in the back room down at the tattoo shop, resounding underneath of the surly, sour, scowling, sad gloom of the half moon until the sound of the rap tune stops too soon, prompting the two squawk. Sendai. Pretty original, written and spitting word is pretty niche and pound to end up prodded, parted, pinched and poked and burnt and propped and picked and pulled and pigeonholed. A perfect spitting image of a city bird sitting underneath the Queensboro Bridge above the East River, incidentally injected with a human flu shot. Accidentally, erratically erecting a messy nest composed largely of dramatically rejected polyester synthetic desk ferns in a beech tree bunched with a big braided batch of several stray strewn strands of a few bold, badly behaved beach bum butch babe kombucha pinchin' Belgian bulging Belgian bleach blonde batty loony circus clowns with painted frowns and balloon jobs, plus also in addition to the removed locks, a jumbled mixture that's known as a goulash of plastic eyelashes, loose threads from their culottes, plus stringy pieces of loose fitting 2 skimpy tube tops, as well as dirty 32 bands costing planned Louis V branded crew socks, leftover stems of medical moon rocks, wetted by dewdrops, resting in a huge hot soup pot next to the fuse box of aboriginal food shops on the ridges of rooftops in Australian boondocks. Outback, sinking into quicksand that's too soft, off track, like these piano keys I'm pretending to be hammering, randomly meandering far from the ever-ranting, rattling, rambling, and panicky, jabbering, stammering spewage of my sewage-infused, confused thoughts. I am a poor, wayfaring stranger, just like my left eye. I am not a psychopop, idol, not a lazy slacker, not a player, riot maker, Einstein, painted wild anger, shades music creator. I am not Tech 9. Anyway, I plop a junky hunk of junk somewhere along the road, clunker hunkered over the ocean, cloak in the mostly sunken, darkening, ducking, docking, dunking, funky colored floating sun, jump in the trunk and slump in my bunk to slumber like some dumb drunk punk dump, funky skunk, funky fat, grumpy grandpapa, cause I done thought it must have been a couple of months since I'd last slept at all. He called away the other day, I left the red with bogs, Sneak Cully crept along the wedding moss, Sneak Leslie leapt long ways leapfroggedly across the crest of rocks and sauntered from the densest fog and scoffed at death herself as she coughed and hacked and retched and barked eventually at the awfully raunchy, harmful stench emanating from the dark cesspool hell pits of my heaven-stretched arms at 2 and 10 o'clock, as if I'm decking the halls, duct-taping vestibly tacky holiday decor such as decorative plastic holly boughs at the tops, or I'm being held and regarded as a partial garbage harbor, deadly, readily armed, petty criminal at the beck and call of the cops, all in jaw-dropping all of the beautiful soft drizzle had sauntered and skipped into in order to wiggle from within the thickest inhospitable thicket and seeped away. Ting, me, just above and beyond the whining, dining tunes and shining lights, hullabaloo, inviting vibes and views, and through excruciating ivy vines, Tasmanian blue gum eucalyptus lines, and cerulean blue tsunami hazard signs, with barely barred teeth barreling carelessly past bridge and ditch, blackberry barriers, which bear thorns and neighbor nearby nettles that burn and sting a niche, deliberately sending my characteristic limbs in a mixture of every direction with blurry flurries of mean karate kicks, hurrying to scurry and prowl beneath of the towering prominence of the furrowed and scowling rocky cliffs, which whipping whistles amidst with widespread wisps, whispering giant wild rye, intently digging within the mystery of 55 feet twisty twiny pygmy cypress and bolender pines, a sobering sight that would open your rivals to find, identify, and see a mighty fine day. Dream seen by the light of the 9 noon sunshine, brightly striking the high side of the tide pools, I arrive to the live dunes at Diane Van 10 Mile and spend a while my significant self starts to spiritually salivate. It begins to physically gallivant, contentedly down Golden California's many centuries old and coastal continental contour, crab and clam and coral, anemone, elephant, seal, and abalone corridor, exploring toward and soaring forward for the Fort Bragg / Mendocino shore, cause I was craving beach, and aimlessly traipsed and jogged the vacated place between the PCH and conks and rocks and throngs of long lost logs that toss around and rock atop the way. BCIJOELHA may be a 4K HD CGI NPCAI hastily created crazy guy with lazy eye and maybe ADHD. JBH stays waging peace and trains of think both day and eve, I think, and lazy streams of mania extracted from the last back rack at the cranium. Rat brain dragging a sad sack of meat to myself and I, you're on the reach and maybe half used to claimings me. Hopped it for time out and tapped the 90 degrees sideways equal sign during a live stream and froze every bone from dome to toes from A to Z in a mudded over junkable motorboat rudder or fully functional comfortable motorhome AC state of freeze, causing me to seem bogged down like a stalled out, falling apart, locked up, done for, rock bottom rung, passing, playing, possibly not, probably not gonna run, cheap and nothing made, knock off, fake take on a sawzall from Hogwarts called Saw Song. Motto, monstrous quantity, quality not awesome, causing me to be mind-boggled, bumbling, faltering in a puzzle childlike state of utter wonder, muffled underneath the rumble of the thunder and the rough and tumble of the fungal jungle, riddling the befuddling mystery, lost and invisible in the fogginess, gone till hours past nightfall, eyeballs watering, backs flying, screaming, snorting, salmon sounds sprouting out my mouth like an irresponsibly intoxicated individual, idiotically slobbering, I'm fucking knockably sloppy and possibly may react like some snobby, wobbly, pot-bellied, crotchety dipsomaniac at a comedy club shopping for somebody to pop off on and get angry at, like some problem child proudly, slowly hollering downright positively improper slurring versions of slur-filled verses of rockabilly songs in a worthless karaoke sing-along at a cursed, very smoky, dingy bar with the spursed seats hopped on by tipsy wilds getting frisky, whipping out their driver's licenses, scenes imposed by a liquor wetting lips with fifths of whiskey, simple, sinful, simpy, wimpy Simons who in less risky settings I'm petily betting several pretty pennies possess actual redeeming qualities. Plop on seat, chomp on vodka's teeth, head bobbling, babbling, blathering and blabbering obscure mediocrities, slobbering, sopping up the false camaraderie, mumbling nonsense like a Pentecostal freak, like, listen, y'all, this would've been lit though. I was gonna digitally dip my grubby fingers into crypto and quickly slip and tiptoe off the stingy city, probably richer than the Count of Monte Cristo or the Top G. I was about to swap my cubicle I fart in my studio apartment for a PEA beautiful cottage in Hawaii on Oahu on the top of the line tropical palm dotted prosperous property, and I was fixing to be pitching the thought to my jiggly boss for him to kickity kick rocks because that giggity gig job is simply not for me. But you see, to make a long story short, like a synopsis of the Odyssey, I possibly lost it all in the lottery. The fault does not belong to me. Stupid economy, mamma mia. To be or not to be, caught unashamedly shouting outrageous soliloquy monologues awkwardly, causing a ruckus raucously with all this flawless, graceful prosody. Oops, I mean, talk shows on TV or DVD commentary series of comedies. National Basketball Association statistical average assists per game with the debilitating fragility of agility abilities of clobbered bodies of top goalkeepers from popular soccer teams. Probability of Chicago cops named Juan Ortiz, who off-duty studied the philosophies of Socrates. They also eat lots of rotten hot meat topped with globs of chocolate cream, pots of coffee beans, chopped up avocado with guacamole, and strange tasting cottage cheese that, oddly enough, is tinted with a hint of aquamarine. Got some always sloppily drawing some awful scene. Somebody probably ought to stop me, please. I've gone impossibly deep in the noggin, nothing foggy monotony of a tummy run vomiting thought machine. Audibly launching lots of alliteration laudably, like a lippy, long-legged, lunging, level-headed Lex Luthor lunatic lawlessly, utilizing a lengthy lexicon larger than Luna like a loser, while also lazily lawn lodge lounging neatly on the rocks all caught between an oddity of illogically not even rotten or softening rain, bleached, water logged, fading, beached, fallen logs when betwixt these transfixing 63XL sticks amidst the thickest twigs, my tiny, shifty, spying, drifting brown eye quickly twitched, my ticker tapped the pipeline lying right beside a triangle. By that I mean it skipped a beat as I peeped a cringy, wimpy, ditzy, flimsy, chintzy, pipsqueak in a stingy, glimpsing peak of a tiny, mystical, splittery, toothpick-esque, smelly, driftwood dwelly, self-propelly, screamless fly, careening by with peace of mind, all free and fine as he came screeching to a halt to scout around the brand new planetary region he just found, which I dare to think of as my knee. Adventuring centered his better mind. The lesser me was pressurized and getting red inside and gesturing in the general direction of the mad exterminable hatch just yesterday pesky thing, internally lecturing. Mercy, sir, sequester me. I don't need thee to firstly pepper the drums of my ears with whiny questions, secondly second guess, or thirdly and finally pester me. This is not my request, it's at the behest of me. Kindly flap your wings, not lips, and promptly jet the heck to either the north, south, east, or west of me, anywhere next to abreast of me. Yes, I'm obviously pressed. This body's a temple, no trespasses. Did I mention I definitely never spend any precious seconds telephoning the SWAT police? I seldom leave the house without the swizzy on me, and yes, I'll swat you fleas right on the spot with these. Las moscas no son los problemas, no sweat for me, no stopping me. Gracias y de nada, G. About that time, instinctively, my primitively thinking brain insisted of me. Dismiss it with a squish of a clenched fist this instant, Joha. The little digitless ditch jit ridiculous misfit tidbit might exhibit sicknesses and visit your village and violate your villa, leaving a kettle of wild vultures vying viciously with each other over gorging your vital organs or scoring a transport of the entire pile to their nest while villainous viral viruses like West Nile interrupt your precious rest and fill your person with horrible curses like variola or Ebola, or even worse like Lord of Mercy, dare I say Zika, Noro, MRSA, or Corona. The horrid @ ampersand Dr. Thor, Plato, Loco, truncated, censored, deleted, redacted, erased, peepity, blank, boot stamp the candidly stupid, loot campin', can of Campbell's soup landin', irrefutable champion of animal poop scanning / eerily fast, agile, cute dancing, unmanageable loose cannon, future fabled flying ace of spades, 7 slap salute, the colonel-sized private lieutenant major giant waste of space, mashes horrid maggot corpse into a pastel orange paste, make him a stranger to his own fly, widowing 45 kiddos at his open face casket, closed waste basket, wait! Instead, I basked in his gaze as I resisted blowing a gasket and passed on the rage, restraining the grotesquely red-faced protesting essay, projecting an essay from my own messy headspace, inspecting and viewing this fleshy confetti speck thing, sketchy but cute little pest face, like, word. Why, sure, my skyward flyer's entire day was tailor-made with spaced-out layered waves of tasting poop, and my word finds sir, I concur. The mighty might certainly deserve to be burned and wind up maimed, or like find his life taken by lightweight fly paper or a flying baby's boot, or ironically, even the delectable diaper. And nextly, I guarantee he's extra effing ineffably hyper, and built kinda like a single scrap of a slab of woolly mammoth jerky snacks packed and saved for later goose inside of gaps and holes and cracks between the fully terrifying faded beige-dyed blade-like canine fangs of quote-unquote Stony, the caveman neighbor's famous grade A rated outdated saber-toothed tiger. Inexplicably brittle little skittle-sized shape sitting right on his kisser full of grimace and gray white hidden in plain sight. A slimy dot riding upon the smile of the Smilodon. A smidgen of a midge grin sitting on the prehistoric Pleistocene face sprinkled with 8 or 9 flake flies, mimicking a grid of individual snake eyes, like a big old case of single pit face and game dice. By the way, no matter how much in the past I've yacked and humble bragged about my magic touch for aimlessly spazzing out and acting up, I courageously place stage lines day to day on a case-by-case basis like I'm paid wages by a naked, crazed playwright with a straight-up innately great taste for blazing up and repeatedly regurgitating a seemingly meaningless sermon made of some tank rhymes. And although this pollutant consuming 2-bit mutant is moot and prudently impudent and stupid, and a reckless driving kamikaze-style pilot who thrives on dive bombing the ground-bound outsiders to try to cyclops some hikers before finally winding up tied up to dry for fine dining by spiders. And we all know he and his entire species are happily ever after feasting on piles of feces without asking and scrounging for a scrap of an ounce of the boundless mounds of bird crap in the rafters. Perchance, madam or sir, have ya actually learned that the dadgummed and durned little rabid scavengers will actually encourage their kiddos to be working on massive turds for dinner that were placid and squirted to the grass by passing scattered cattle herds of freaking sickos? Plus, besides that, I heard the chant-making throwaway Karen of the air is actually chance-taking as a stowaway passenger on the ferry captained by Karen. What are the odds? Crumping with a greasy mythological psychopomp, passing back and forth since the dawn of time with souls across the Acheron. Dumb bug smuggled by the unknowing underworld paddler. Plus, he's volunteering in his downtime as the Grim Reaper's job shadowing? Huh? Get a hobby, bruh. Maybe something less gnarly, demonic, and macabre. Excuse my French, mustard, cause I fully know pulling my blown apart, fun stretching in certain circles is worse than blurting a curse, but landlady Liberty's lifted lamp's been lidded off and locked up since the middle of World War I, and we the people of France, being made out of freaking nothing, want some reconstruction or a refund, s'il vous plaît. I don't want any of your old filthy euros, I come in hunt of BUCKs. Nah, I'm not in the field of farming crypto, USDA, plus I'm French toasted and French fried, but get this. He makes his way through life, wild and out in his B-Day suit and tie, cosplaying as a plane that takes organic waste for fuel that, to be true, not only saves him a bunch of hundreds on fill-ups at the BP pumps and easily cuts up lengthy chunks of hang time on his daily commute, but when loomed over and snooped upon at just the right obtusely shaped angelic angle by taking a peek before you race the book or baby boot or maybe an 80-foot tall quartz basalt column choked upon like a baseball bat, so someone dumped up on some gun-growing gear can take an angry swing as these beautiful, gluten-free, laser ink, loose leaf paper wingsuit sheets soon, maybe lazily layered with vaguely dangerous blanketing rays of UV streaks illuminating our puny beast who, just last night, was a practically invisible juvenile, back alley miserable trash can flapping imbecile, zooming on dismal spooky streets pacing for a while, a mini-acher, meek-natured, dream waker, peace breaker, teenager-y speed racer, mustard seeds little brother dumpster feeder, nosy flavor savoring neighbor, animated punctuation mark, enthusiastically playing a major part in the revolutionary takeover of a blanket park, picnic basket full of apple cores in the rapidly growing patch of grass and clover in the grayest part, Aspen Grove in the backmost corner pasture of the actual trashiest unnatural disaster of a trailer park, a massive score being wrestled o'er by maggots and rats and more. Pursuer, peruser, and appraiser of the putrid. Undisputedly stupid poo consumer, loser, goober, newbie, whose conclusion could be 2 for 1. Suffocated underwater, run through on a skewer. Future useful fishing lure. Forget the chicken of the sea. This is the tuna of the sewer. I mean, side piece type B. The other extra light meat. Puncture, rupture, punch, and smother the fluttering summer loving somewhat bloody gutter nugget in a tub from old Mother Hubbard's cupboard full of walnut butter. Chuck it a chunky hunk of muck talk. I'm talking freshly pulled walrus blubber. Shut up, brother. Suck it up, buttercup. Utter nothing and just eat. Yum, spicy. The plummeting ugly buzzard wannabes not of this world but buzzing through her just like me. Frightfully heightening likelihood of he and I expiring in more or less than 7 days. A shiesty, shady, shifty, denizen of the ever slimy, sweaty Everglades. Who ya? Betcha first and second most precious, incredible possessions even the devil especially hates. Put on better days when heaven's rays get tuned straight into him during all but his dirtiest, muckiest, yucky manure-consuming craze. He projects up at the luckiest viewer's face. Beautiful, intense, fluorescent hues and streaks and sweeping iridescent shades. The specter, never expecting, I reckon that he was steady, flexing a spectrum of spectacular neon pinks, crimsons, teals, and whites.
All the girlies say I'm pretty fly for a fly guy.
The beat of his theme tune seems to precede him and then proceed in a repeat loop. As see-through streaks of 127,000 lumen UV beams leak and seep through his cheap two-piece tweed suit of deep blue before it shuffles to the color of cheesy green pea soup, then porridge. And for just a second or so, inspectors from Moshe to be pouring 40s for respective his protective important reddish yellow high-vis vest of orange before majestic indigo periwinkle flecks of light storm in, reflecting off the petals of morning glories, catchment, lavender, allium, aster, alkanut, and of course borage. My flashing tie-dye suited, wide-eyed, minute and rice-sized, cute, finite, galactic, sand-clad, dashing new pal began roving, exploring newfound high-rise moving meatland, accidentally landed on a planet captained by a chap named Joel, who's actually fictional, and the hydro and solar powered shows low-key controlled by a distant brain inside a skull. 5 bullfly fighting domed arenas wide via fly miles worth of nerves that seem to work like power lines that dangle down inside to signal to the mainframe to tattle on every danged intruder, such as our unidentified flying a guy who's probably like Neil Wingstrong's offspring. Am I right? Our guys, ours alive, clouded mind, free of lounging, floundering, and coward eyes, wildly eaten up, supped upon, consumed by the idea of yeeting up to zoom and mountain colonize the outer side of my tower hide, powdered flower wide, louse crowded, unshowered thighs, undoubtedly wearing most of my thunderous unbounded power lies. That was a pretty tiny weak step for a fly guy, but it's a giant leap for fly kind. I stared with my huge starry eye from far away in space and gaped as I gazed and marveled in amazement at the universe's stay. Chased within the limiting confines of this mindless microscopic piece without a reason or a meaning or a way. All deities, deeds, ideas, and every entity who ever existed from every dimension, hiding their identity briefly inside the shy, quietly fly-lifing, itty-bitty, fleeting being for a minute, maybe even just about a day. Thought about how 40 zipped by. This darting fly was smarty hide, pivoting particle-sized, petite and paltry, plus partly maybe me. And this guy, toasty-eyed, roboticized poster child for noble knight because I'm so polite, floating in a rotting bag of bones for life, the chosen side where ghosts of goated poets coalesce to ride.
Yeah, right.
A bloated hide in both his eyes, a mobilized older guy who goes through life in the original no-fly zone and oversized. Biggie heat. We, completely clashing conscious clouds of countless atomic connections controlled by constant electric energy, are shockingly bound together tight in every possible way for basically all infinity, without the former or the latter of us being elected more important than the other in the ever-expanding, grand, unplanned, scattered, random scheme of things. How his seemingly frivolously spent miniature simplistic timeline is actually equivalent to ours when compared with the bigger picture and the relatively fast-passing tiny lifespan of outcast, massive gassed-up super-giant stars in a single snap of comically gigantic, ever-reaching godly fingers, slithering every dot and tittle a tight little cubic centimeter of the unforgiving cosmic black of space at a rapid pace, like a smugness having face, attached to hustle, making us bold, passing up the front, taking topping and edging out the number 1th place, getting the dub in a mundane slug race, like backspace and modern stanzas with improper grammar, spreading Dodgers catcher Mike Piazza doppelganger propaganda, just like that. Each boring complex story becomes erased, chump change, subject of an obit page, someone from done days, washed up has-beens, once was is but ain't. Blast from the past, like that rancid gas you once passed back in your last calculus math lab that you bafflingly assumed was practically a vacuum that had fast-acting, backstabbing classmates, passing dizzy from the doozy of a dazzling crack-passing booty backdraft, blasting a new path through the bulletproof glass and manufactured spoof plaster, dashing to the bathroom half, cramming back-to-back inside the nastiest stalls till they're long past clogged and full, jamming their coffin mugs raw smack dab into the appalling log sauce bogging the bowls for some fresh air, as the other half pauses and errs on the side of flaunting caution, very scared of errant derriere warfare, and therefore hijacks the head secretary's secondary set of keys to ransack the janitor's lair, carelessly descending the shaky stairs in major disrepair without even making dares, braving the fang-bearing rats and snakes, confiscated cannabis paraphernalia, and the cherry-stained rake with curious stares, unsparingly firing eyeball daggers warily at the married pair of harebrained caretakers Jerry and Larry with staggering swagger as they're sharing fair free fare, tearing merrily into very extremely rare stakes of carrion, the size of an airline carry-on suitcase after noon snack of whatever they found ensnared in a grate, either rabbit or rabbit hair, paired with the side of an appetizing sliced pear from the cafeteria, dining with flair, bites by the light of a barely burning emergency flare, momentarily sharing a glare before remembering why they're there, red herring after red herring, distractions from the path into the blackness and the stagnant, undamaged air. Little rascals and rug-rat brats trampling various wares, such as ample stacks of chairs, of Damascus steel ladder rack stereos stolen from staff and faculty vehicles. Hey, look, take a gaze over there. Saddle-wearing, sadly taxidermy-looking, very scary bear who's actually fragile and carefully crafted from real human hair. Which? Tears streaming, cheerleaders, fear screaming, leaving ears bleeding, and sleazy D student peers reaching for the nearby cleaning supplies on an ironically not clean at all rack. Ick. Half of them are haphazardly raising the old relabeled bleach and acid-filled bottles to their teeth to swallow all that in sips. As all the ones who didn't score a nurse's office visit or wiggled out an English lit and sneakily ditched their econ class, or convinced field trip aficionado Miss Fiona Felicity Frizzle to unwittingly nod her head as consent in order for Jonathan to scribble off a forgery of her signature on a fictional hall pass. Dumb kids were left locked inside the drop zone while pupils dilate to pamper themselves some broth apocalypse, while vomiting in makeshift doggy bags made of their own ball caps. Fun wits? Whoop-de-doo! Chicks and dudes, vomiting spewed observably high viscosity bodily fluids determined by the substitute science teacher to be hurtling through our atmospherical nitrogen and hydrogen at approximately quadruple its possible velocity. Whoopsie! Oops! Rookie! Move! The rip-roaring, glittery flight performance was getting boring. I was literally snoring. Plainly, vainly, inhumanely ignoring. It's praying, begging, waiting, imploring, quaking, Quivering, quaint, snowflakey, corny, shaky, stanky, leggy, fake ploy of faux pas, fly-by, wing flap, sleep please that triggered a flickering snicker, which was quickly withered by my boredom. I'd ployed and coiled up a very loyal finger and toil-free without employing a single sliver of my strength, like a roided McGuire poised in line for zingers, springing from the benches, winking toward the pitchers, swinging for the fences, bringing up more runs and boinking out some dingers, pinging off the scoreboard, sinking in the bleachers of a rinky-dink stadium in stupid Cleveland. Flippantly middle digit flick the free ride hitching sneaky little disease, bringing midget demon sneakery 11,000 meters across the cedar from what I hear is a lovely Eden known as Tunnel Beach in the land down under down in Dunedin, New Zealand. Flip. Well, he's 3 feet closer to his destination at least. Thank me later, bud. Have fun.
And it was this pursuit of iridescence was actually what it was. How is it possible for a 9-year-old child to hold the image of one insect continuously in their mind for months? And then years later, when I studied psychology and the brain, I read Sherrington's definition of consciousness as an iridescence upon matter, meaning an effect that when you shift the point of regarding slightly, the iridescence disappears.